this is your boy, Geordie Boy Sam, and this is going to be something a little bit different from what I normally do. I'm going to be talking about any new DLC that's coming out on the 18th, and I'm thinking of doing this as a recurring thing with any games that I'm currently playing, and they announce any big like DLCs, any new big updates or anything like that, talking about them and giving my opinion on them. So as I mentioned, there's a new DLC coming out on the 18th, so in the UK that's basically tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to it. And that is the Dead by Daylight Chapter 1, The Last Breath. Now all this analysis, in my opinion, is based off what I've seen from the trailer they released, and I will leave a link down below in the description of the trailer so you can watch it if you're interested of what it's got to show. But what I'm going to be discussing is three things that they're bringing into DLC. That is the location, the survivor, and of course the killer. We're going to start off with the location. It's the scenario is the asylum. A little bit cliche, but the killer, as you probably can tell from the thumbnail, is suits the asylum basically. From the looks of the trailer, it looks more indoors than outdoors, but that's probably just one of the zones, because the way the Dead by Daylight map system works is that they got different scenarios but 4 different zones in that scenario. So I'm imagining that's going to be the same for the asylum. So I can imagine one zone's going to be more indoors than the other. I think one's going to be outdoors. Unfortunately, I don't know what each zone will have until I actually get my hands on the game. But from the looks of things, it looks a bit more indoors. Look like there's some corridors in there, and yeah, I think that might bring in some new dimension to the horror, because with the other maps, it's mainly outdoors with like a house in the middle, or a house somewhere off, and yeah, it allows like the survivor and the killer have different options of which way. Basically, they have a 360-degree option of where they want to go. With the corridor, it's more or less up or down, and maybe occasional left and right, but some of them may be dead ends. So I think that's interesting. I think it makes the game more scary, because you don't know if the killer's coming up or down, but also there's not a lot of escape options except up, and that's like straight ahead if the killer's behind you, and of course the killer's also faster than the survivor, so that's not a good idea. So they're going to have to try and get outside to escape. That from the looks of things. Saying that, if there is a little bit of an outdoor area from it, like in the indoor, like kind of like, but there is more indoors, I do hope they put more generators indoors than outdoors, forcing the survivors to go inside the asylum instead of just going around the outside, because that's what normally happens in the other maps, is that you can ignore the house, because more or less you're gonna, if the killer gets in the house and corners you, you're kind of screwed, but outside you got more chance of escaping. And it's just like a nice scenery to see. You're not really first going inside that house or that estate or whatever other indoor location there is. So I'm kind of hoping with the asylum there's going to be more generators focused inside the asylum than outside. Now, as I mentioned, the killer suits the asylum because she is the nurse, and oh my god, does she look terrifying. I will say that she does have a bit of a Silent Hill appearance, in my opinion. She does look terrifying. She does look like she kind of like, if you see the Silent Hill films, you know that the nurses are probably one of the scariest monsters to deal with. So yeah, she looks terrifying. No face, no eyes. So I still don't know how she sees, so that's the main thing. But her main weapon is the bone saw. Now that does sound terrifying. A saw that can cut through bones. Yay! And I'm getting chased with that if I play as a survivor. Yay! So that's gonna be terrifying, getting chased by her. Now each killer has their own like main power. For example, since I mainly play as the Wraith, basically the Wraith can turn invisible, which gives me a few perks, but also like a little bit of a disadvantage. So what I mean by that is, while I'm invisible when I'm playing as the Wraith, basically I move a little bit quicker than I normally do, and also the heartbeat detection, which is what the survivors use to try to figure out if there's a killer close by. It doesn't work on it's not there. Even if I'm standing right behind them, it's not there. However, the downside of being invisible is I can't interact with anything. So I can't open the closet doors, I can't break down pallets, I can't hit the survivors while I'm invisible. So I have to go uninvisible to hit them and bring them down, basically. So that's how the powers more or less work. The nurse's power is called Blink. Now, if you're a Dishonored fan, you kind of already figure out what that means. But for the people that don't really know, it's basically short teleportation through through walls, survivors, obstacles, practically anything. You basically turn into a ghost for a time period, and you teleport to a different location. So, yay! A teleporting killer. Great. Now, of course, I've seen the comments that was being posted on the YouTube video and the Steam community, where there was a few people going on how that is so unfair, how that's too OP, and they should not do that. I think they need to shut up, basically, because basically I think that it's a fair power to have for the killer, because what this does is it kind of counteracts the juking method that some players may abuse. Now, what I mean by the juking method is that basically around the maps there are kind of window ledges and pallets for the survivors to slide over or vault over. Now, the killer takes ages to vault over, and basically they have to destroy the pallet. Now, the pallets I'm not too fussed about, because like I said, you can destroy the pallets and it stops them using the pallets as a juking method. The window ledge, however, they can vault like a huge number of times, where for me, when I'm playing as a killer, it gets to the point where I think I want to message the developer and say, can you put a freaking limit of how many times a player can vault over the window ledge until the entity gets bored and like gets rid of it, or something like that, something to stop players abusing the juking method. Because I'm not saying that we should get rid of it, I think it's a fair tactic to use, but I'm getting tired of them abusing it. Because what that means is I get frustrated with it, and I go off trying to find another survivor, because that's probably why they're doing it as well. It's to help the survivors get more time to repair the generators, but it is frustrating as hell. And saying if I leave the survivor alone, like goes off trying another one, then they escape and then they can focus on repairing the generators, and a scenario can arise where basically all of them escape just because the players are juking between the window ledges and making my life hell, basically. So, for the people that are saying this is too OP, it's unfair, I think no, it's not. I think it's fair. It should have been done quite soon, like ages ago, and it means that you're going to have to change your tactic when dealing with the nurse, because basically that's not going to work, because she can teleport through walls. So if you're trying to juke her, she'll just go through the other side before you get a chance to turn back and do the juking method again. And with the blinking, you can do long bursts and short bursts, and she can burst like basically like do, and that's just going to stop the juking method, like abusing it really. I do see it's still going to be used to juking method, but not as abused. So that's where I stand with the blink ability. An ability or power, as you like to, that's what people like to call it, where it will help reduce or counteract players that abuse the juking and vaulting over the window ledges and pallets, because you can just cut through the wall and go like, hello, I'm right here. Now, moving on, each killer has their 3 main outstanding perks. That's what I'm going to call them. One of the nurse's perk is like the ability to hear breathing. The breathing becomes much louder, which allows you to able to track them a lot easier. Now, cool ability, I kind of like it, but the 2 that stands out for me the most is the nurse's calling, which allows to see the aura of any survivor that's being healed or is healing that particular survivor, and the thanatophobia. What that means is that if a survivor is injured, in a dying state, or on the hook, then that's going to have consequences for the other team, well, for the other survivors, where basically they will find their repairing, sabotaging, and even healing slowed down. Now, I would imagine there will be upgrades of how slow it's going to take, how slow it is for them. So with those two little perks, if you manage to get both of them, I think that's going to make it like an interesting way of playing the game. Makes you think, okay, if I heal this player, then the thanatophobia would disappear, which means we can operate repairing the generators, sabotaging, and even healing a lot quicker. However, because of the nurse's calling, if I do heal that player, we're gonna get spotted a lot easier than the other survivors. So it brings an interesting dynamic to the tactics of like what shall we do here, because one of our players injured, which is slowing us down, but if we heal that player, then the killer's gonna find us. Now, I think the reason why they kind of introduced that is, I think for like some of the players and some of the fans have been saying that the games are going too quickly, and there's the other side saying, well, it's not our fault that you're not a good killer, you know, we're able to get the generators done quicker and all that stuff. And I think what the developers have done is they actually listen to both sides, and I think they come up with a fair ability, like perk to have, because I think with the perks, I'm not 100% sure, you can transfer them over to the other killers as well. So I think they listen and say, okay, there's some players that are like frustrated because they can't get to the, basically the survivors are doing them too quickly, but the survivors have a point saying, it's not our fault that we repair the generator, maybe just bad at the game. So what they say, alright, here's this perk which basically slows everything down if you injured at least one survivor. Now let me point that out, the killers will still have to injure a survivor to slow everything down. So basically it would force more stealth play for the survivors, because like they don't want to get injured, because they want to try to get through the generators as quickly as possible. But also what that means for the killers, that all you need to do is just injure one, and then the game slow down gives you more time on hunting them down and hunting them down and winning the game. So I think what the developers have done with those perks is like they basically listen to both sides of the argument, and they come up with, I think, a fair system in place to deal with those issues. Now, of course, the survivors are not going to be empty-handed. They got a new survivor named Nia. Now, Nia is a typical rebel teen. She's got that rebel look with her. She looks really good in my opinion, and her specialized area is being able to move fast without being seen, because she's the rebel. She has to escape from the police and get out of there quickly, so that's where they're kind of going with that. She has little perks that helps her to be able to move a bit quicker without being seen as easily, and also to be able to escape the killer a little bit easier than the other survivors. But the main one that stands out for me for her is the Streetwise perk, which basically will help items last a little bit longer than they normally should. Now I think that Streetwise is something to counteract the thanatophobia, because with the thanatophobia where things are taking ages, it wouldn't use up the equipment, like the first aid, the toolkit, and the flashlight. They basically won't last as long. Now with the Streetwise, it means that there is a chance, I don't know the details of how long she can make them last longer for, but it means that she can use the first aid basically lasts a bit longer, so she can heal more people, she can repair things more quickly, you know. So I think that's maybe a little bit of a counteract to the thanatophobia. I don't know by how much. Until I will only find that out until the DLC is released on the 18th. Now, so yeah, that overall, I think they've done a very good DLC. I think they calmed a lot of the issues that may arise from playing as the other killers, and they counteract. I think I'll be honest, I do think it's a good DLC. I think that it, like I said, they did sort out some of the issues that may have arisen through the playing as the other killers. And to the other players that are mourning about being the killer too OP, the killer is meant to be OP. I want to get that across. The killer are meant to be near damn impossible to beat. Now, basically with the current survivor set there, if you know more or less of how to counteract them, because for example I played the Wraith so much, I more or less know how to counteract the Wraith and all that stuff, and how to dodge the Wraith. But I think it's right for the killer to be OP. I think it's right for this nurse to have like the ability to teleport and makes the game much harder for the survivors, because I think at the current moment it's too easy for the survivors and it gets boring after a while. So to the players that are moaning that she's too OP, I say tough luck, figure out a new strategy, new tactic, and just get on with it. Because to be fair, a lot of people were saying the Wraith's ability of invisibility was OP, but then they found a way to counter it. So I'm not going to be surprised if they manage to find a way to counteract the nurse's blink ability. But I just think you need to stop moaning and just accept that she's going to be OP as hell for probably the first few weeks until some counters are going to be put in place. So like I said, overall really good DLC. I'm looking forward to playing it. It will be available on the 18th of August and it's free as well. So what are you waiting for? This is your boy Jody Boy Sam. Have an awesome day, a fantastic day. If you want me to do more of these talks about DLCs or expansions or new updates, let me know in the comments below. And also don't be late for that appointment, because the nurse doesn't likes to wait. And I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ra for now.